All right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of We Do Have a Podcast Name. Zach, your idea, introduce the people the podcast name.
It was just, yeah, it's not set in stone yet, I don't think, but just an idea is thinking out loud. Um, we could put it out for some viewers, maybe get a little poll going. Don't know how many viewers we might have, but yeah, we're playing around with ideas right now, but we don't have a solid name yet, but we're just kind of brainstorming. This would be like the second real episode, so we're still getting our feet wet, essentially.
Yeah. And besides that, another new addition or another change, Mr. Luke Chabani. Welcome. Round of applause.
Yeah. How you doing? I'm Luke. Currently here at State College, Happy Valley. Going to Penn State. Just got back from overseas. And here we are. Back with the boys on Think It Out Loud. Welcome back.
Yeah, Luke, you were, what was the total time you were over there?
Well, let's see. We left November last year, and we got back October. So what? 10 months? Yeah, 10 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah.
Where were you all at? Am I cutting it out?
No, you're good.
We'll cut that part out. Anyway, all right, Luke. Yes. Are you able to tell the people all the different countries and shit you were at?
Yeah, it was in Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. A lot of desert just in Kuwait, but Saudi Arabia has some beautiful mountains. Still a lot of desert. Hot as hell, but it's all right.
Did you yeah, what was like, I mean, let's get to it. What's like your day-to-day out there? I mean, you got to realize, if you listen, I mean, I was over there for a short amount of time in a different region. And obviously Zach, everyone else who's never been out there has no idea what it's like. I don't know what the idea behind it is, or from like the other perspective, but you can kind of get into like maybe some pros and cons. We can kind of feed off each other that way. It's definitely a unique experience. Obviously, you're in a third world country. Yeah, you can just kind of go like, what's like your day to day, some things you like, some things you absolutely hated, if there was any of either one of those.
Yeah, I mean, day to day, honestly, just depended. Like, we had missions, depending on how long your missions were. So, I mean, most days when we went out for mission, it wasn't just a quick 9 to 5, 8-hour day. It was 16 plus hours. And it takes a toll on your body just out in the heat all day, in a truck all day, just jumping up and down because it's bumpy. But, I mean, when we weren't having missions and weren't real busy, we would just go down, work on our trucks, make sure they're mission capable, ready to go. And other than that, we hit the gym and get food. That was really all we had to do. So, I mean, we got busy, played a lot of pool, a lot of poker, a lot of card games, watched a lot of movies too. But that really sums it up. That's deployment. Yeah,
look, so when you say trucks, you feel what, maybe Zach doesn't have no idea what you're talking about. This obviously isn't like your typical Ford F-150 that you guys do. You can just give it a very like kindergarten lesson of what you do for the National Guard.
So for the National Guard, I drive all the heavy vehicles. So that ranges from what they call is the HETT, H-E-T-T, which is the heavy vehicle transport truck. So that we hauled tanks with that. That's what it's designed to do. It looks like a semi, but it's just very built up. It has really big wheels, and it's just very big. And then other than that, if you look up just like tactical vehicles, you'll find a whole array of them. And I would have drove most of them. But other than that, like the infantry have they have their own vehicles and stuff like that. And the guys that go out for mines, route recon. So I don't drive that, but yeah. If you just look up tactical vehicles, I've driven all of that.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, to give you maybe a little background to like the idea of what you do when you're in a location like that is like it's a very unique experience. You literally have like one responsibility that you're getting asked to do, and like that's it. Now, obviously, that responsibility looks very differently day to day, right? Sometimes that responsibility takes days to kind of complete. And then sometimes you wake up and that responsibility needs 30 minutes of your time, and the rest of the day is yours. So yeah, it's a very, very unique situation to be in. I know with my experience and just being around people who have done a lot more than me, they definitely, a lot of people enjoy it because if you hone in on yourself, because obviously there's not too many distractions. You're on a completely different time zone, and when you do have Wi-Fi, nothing's really going on when you're on your phone and things like that. So you get forced to be kind of just like taking care of what you need to take care of because there's not many distractions. I guess that's the foundation of it. But a lot of people thrive. A lot of people very, very enjoy their time out there. Especially we only do like 60 days. So it's a lot of people, it's a very nice break just away from just the day-to-day hustle and bustle of like a typical American in the military or basically anything. So, definitely some cons, but for the most part, you can definitely thrive and really take advantage of just being separated from the day-to-day stuff that, takes a lot of your energy and time here in the States. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like people enjoy themselves when they're over there. People change their whole lives. Like especially some of the guys in my company, they went over there, let's say 280. They're coming home like 220. Like they lost good weight and then now they look good. And good for them. Getting healthy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The best part is I kind of trying to round this in like simple terms, but like all of your questions of like, you don't have a lot of things available to you to really that you can kind of like make your life not as productive as it can be, i.e. every meal you eat, you don't have a choice. You're just like, this is what we have. You either eat this or you're hungry, and for the most part, obviously it's not the most well-cooked or well-made food, but at the end of the day, it's real food. It's not McDonald's. It's not like deep fried Oreos, whatever, that the American diet has. It's like, hey, this is what we've got. And when you're exercising consistently, because you have all the time in the world for the most part, exercise consistently. And those two things, and it can really over time, days, weeks, months, some cases years, can make it truly just physical and mental impact on you in a great way. So it's a really strange, a strange life to kind of be in and to definitely get back. So you just got back, like you said, October. So 2 months ago, a month ago, 6 weeks ago. You've been everywhere, but yeah.
I've been to the beach. I went to see my cousin in Chicago. I went to see my cousin in Columbus. Just trying to visit everybody. Now that I'm back, it's been a long year, and I don't know. I was just really excited to see everybody, and I had to make a trip. And this weekend's gonna be really fun too. Having everyone come back to the hometown, go out for Thanksgiving. It's gonna be nice to see everybody. Zach, can't wait to see you, my guy. But yeah, like you said, Tom, got to see you. Just a good time, just having fun with all the friends and stuff like that.
Yeah, Zach, it was tough.
Yeah, no, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just gonna ask about like the time zone difference, if that like affected you at all. I know it's like really far. I don't know how many hours it is behind us, like in Pennsylvania. If that just made a difference when you came back at all.
Yeah, Luke, you can hit on that.
Oh, like when I came back on that flight, it was bad. Like it's only a 5.5 hour flight from Seattle to Pittsburgh, and like we took off at like 9 o'clock, and we didn't land till I think 4:30. So
you're talking about
those 3 hours.
No, yeah, when you're
overseas,
overseas, yeah.
Oh,
I've been to
my bad.
Seattle.
No,
I've been to Seattle many times. Yeah.
No, the time zone definitely affected it because when I would wake up, do my day, and my day would be ending, and everybody else is just getting started for the day. So and especially like like I didn't want to go on like Snapchat, see everybody's stories. Like when I woke up on Sunday morning, everybody's going out at night. It was brutal. But other than that,
I was over there. Well, I guess you were too, Luke. Definitely during the holidays, I tell people if there's one thing that I would warn people if they are, joining the military, being in this kind of lifestyle and you're away from the holidays, it's like, try your best to just be around human beings. It's one of it doesn't matter how, how like happy you think you are, and you can be very, very happy. That those days during the holidays when you're in a place where yeah, you guys kind of understand what I'm getting at. It can be pretty dark. And yeah, definitely with the time zones and stuff, and people like celebrating holidays, and you're like, it's at your nighttime, and you haven't done anything for the holidays. For the most part, the military tries to like do something no matter where you are in the world during the holidays. But yeah, it's definitely like SOS. It's tough. It's tough to be out there during those times. So kudos to you. You've been out through for a ton. But yeah, Zach, that's one of the hardest times that I've ever kind of gone through, is being really, really away during the holidays, for sure. But you're not alone. And like, I would be with like grown men that are like, in their 40s with a wife and kids on Christmas Day. Do you know what I mean? And that's like, all right, so it's okay that you're not with your, but not that it's okay, but it just puts it in perspective. You know what I mean? That
yeah,
everyone's going through it together. So yeah,
That's funny that you talk about like during the holidays. Like last year when we were in Texas before we left for overseas, our barracks our alarms went off for a carbon monoxide, so we had to move all our stuff out of the barracks on Christmas Eve. If nobody was there, it was pretty depressing holiday. That's to say the least.
Yeah, holidays. That at the end of the day, holidays can be tough being away. That's like, it's all like funny games, working out every day, having your own schedule, not distractions. You can get the FaceTime and stuff, and man, those holidays roll around. Whew, tough. It's tough. So, yeah. Well, all right, boys. Zach, you got anything else? We're gonna kind of get into stuff here.
No, I think it was a good introduction to everything. I don't really know much about what goes on, so that was good to hear about.
Yeah, sweet. All right, boys. Well, Zach, we'll start with you. You haven't been talking much, but the first question we wanted to ask everyone, or ask the people here, and then talk about for everyone listening, is: do you truly like, in lack of a better terms, where your life is at? And Zach, you can start.
Do I like where my life is at?
Yes, I know it's a very, very broad question, but yeah, do you like where your life is at? Slash, do you wish things, if you wanted things to be different, what aspects of that life could you do? And I know this is tough to talk about because obviously I believe we're all supposed to be where we're at, but I think just can kind of just open our minds to just kind of thinking about what's been going on and just do some reflecting.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the main question. Do you like where your life is at?
In like really broad terms, I would say yeah, because I do feel like everything that I'm doing currently is what I'm supposed to be doing, because I just feel it intuitively and like in my gut, in my heart. Because more recently, within the past 6 months to a year, I definitely started listening to my gut and my heart more than my head. So I used to listen to my head a little bit more, but I'm finding out, I think trusting your gut instinct is something that a lot of people should start to do more of. So yeah, as for my whole life, I think right now, like being in school and just taking care of that aspect of my life, and then, just physical relationships and social life and everything along those lines, is I just feel like everything that I'm doing is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't really have any regrets or things I wish I could change right now. I mean, maybe I could like nitpick a few things if I thought of like maybe some regrets I might have, but I wake up every day. So that's like a blessing in itself, like grateful for every day and each day to just try to be better than I was the day before. So I would say I do like where I'm at right now.
Can you maybe give an example, or just like kind of have people kind of get in your shoes when you talk about thinking with your gut and your heart rather than your head?
Yeah, so I think of it as when you think with your head, you're more so thinking of you're thinking with emotions, and you're not really people. I would say when you use your head, you're thinking that you would use like logic because you're thinking and you're thinking things through. But when you're using your head, I believe your emotions kind of take over, and you're making decisions that kind of probably that might suit you best in the short term, but maybe in the long term, it probably doesn't work out for you. Um, so I would just say if you like if you have that gut feeling, because you can't really explain it. When you have like a gut feeling, like, oh, I think this might be the right like thing to do, or I don't think I should do this. Like usually your gut and your heart, like that's just instinctively and intuitively, like those signals just go off automatically. Um, and I found out since when I was starting to trust those more, I feel like things started to fall into place for me a little bit better. Um, so yeah, I mean, a lot of people I would say think with their head, and that I think uses a little bit too much emotion, and then that can have like a negative effect on the choices you do make, in a sense.
Yeah, I think it is tough to kind of explain to people in a sense because that's the idea, right? It's like I don't really know how to describe this feeling, but something's urging me to go this way rather than this way. And I think the true difference, if we're talking about, and I don't want to get the physical aspects of like thinking with your brain versus your gut instinct. Like obviously it's way deeper than that. But the idea is just like, I think a lot of people when they're quote thinking with their head, or I guess you could say not thinking with their gut, is just allowing a lot of different factors to impact that decision, right? I.e., your own self overthinking, listening to other people weigh in on that decision you're trying to make. And at the end of the day, all of that it can be very beneficial, but only you truly know what it feels like when you can put yourself in this route of making the decision, and only you can feel like, or only you know what it feels like to put yourself also in this route of that decision making, right? Like we have like, ooh, this one feels this way, and like, but this and this one feels like a little more not comfortable because usually it's kind of the opposite. So the decision you should be chasing with your gut usually kind of feels very uncomfortable at the moment. And then maybe like the easier one that logically in your head makes all of this sense, but you know deep down your heart's not in it, or like your true intuition in a sense this isn't in that decision making.
Yeah.
What's Luke? What's kind of a decision when you think back to that kind of frame of mind? What kind of decision? I know you're kind of in an aspect where you've made some decisions recently that can obviously dictate your future, impact your future. Yeah, can you just give an example? Give an example is what I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, I'm kind of going through like something like this right now where like my head is telling me like, okay, I'm going back to school. I'm going for energy engineering. And right now my brain's telling me I don't want to go back for it. Like I want to switch it up. Just, I don't know. But like at the same time, I'm like, man, I'm going to do it. And then I don't want to. It's just hard to decipher between like, is my head talking here or is my gut talking? It's hard to decide. Like I don't know where I can make the good decision. Like how can I hunt this? So like that's kind of where I'm at right now as an example, and it's a real life example.
So this is
Like,
kind of crazy. Yeah, I have my journal in front of me. My green lights. Shout out Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, shout out green lights.
The page I'm on, crazy. I didn't do this on purpose. So this journal, he like gives you very short quotes to like kind of stimulate your thoughts as you can start journaling. Anyway, the quote on this page that I was open up to is, sometimes which choice you make is not as important as making a choice and committing to it. At the end of the day, you're going to have choices that you have no idea, or you're going to have, predicaments you have no idea which way to go. But you can't just live your life being in that gray area of like, sometimes in life, you just got to quote, send it, shout your hoodie, yeah. Luke, but you just got to go. Right. And like, for whatever reason, you were meant to, if it wasn't the way if that decision wasn't the one that works out, you're still meant to go through that path, whether you were on that path for a day or 10 years and you got off of that path. Does that make sense? Like, but the idea that you committed to that path is more important than you teeter-tottering between these two decisions for your whole life and never getting anything done and never learning about anything.
Absolutely. And like, that's where like at one road, I want to just get the rest of this done, but at the same time, like I'm also in that mindset where I'm like, dude, like I'm this young. When am I ever gonna do this again? Like it's an imbalance, but I don't know where to go with it. It's just hard to choose right now. Like I need to think about it and really just because it's really gonna be changing my life. Like
Yeah.
I have to really swing my mindset from engineering to whatever I want to do next. Maybe I don't know, business or something like that. Like it'd be hard to just switch all that over to a new beginning. Especially in
Yeah.
my college career.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's
if you think about it, if you make a certain choice, either way you do go, there's going to be ups and downs of whatever pathway that goes. So if you switch your major to business, it might start off really good or it might start off really poorly. But then it could get better or it could get worse. So the same thing could go with if you stay in your engineering path. Like you might not be sure right now, but things could get astronomically. They could just get better. You could just, this is really what I want to do. Um, so you could just teeter totter, or you could make a choice. But either way, there's still going to be ups and downs, whatever pathway. So it's just like you said, kind of finding what you want to do and spend your time doing, and then just make a choice and just do it.
also an
Absolutely.
important aspect. Especially people, young people in their 20s, late teens, when it comes to decision making, or it comes to choosing a path for your life. When you're on that path, you gotta put your goddamn head down sometimes uh just do take care of your responsibilities. There's so many people that kind of say this isn't right for me after so many amount of weeks, and they literally haven't put any true effort towards something. Like we all know what it feels like to give something our full effort, and we also know obviously what it feels like to kind of half-ass something, in lack of a better term. So I think before anyone does any crazy decision making, quote unquote, like look at your life and be like, am I really giving everything I have into this before I can decide like, this isn't me? And so I think that's an important aspect to when it comes to chasing these intuitions and stuff. It's like whatever path you go to, do go 100%. And then you can like look back and be like, man, I'm glad I gave it my all, because I learned a lot about myself. But at the end of the day, like this just isn't what's meant for me. And it's tough because it looks so different for every single person on this earth, But I think a lot of people, in our time of life right now is going through that in the most. It's the most saturated it'll ever be in your life is when you're young 20s. There's a lot of paths you can go, right? We don't have kids, we don't have a wife, we don't have any people depending on us to kind of guide us or really influence that decision making. This is a time where we're completely free, in lack of a better terms, to make those.
Yeah, like and that with that too, you still have problems with that. Like you have too many decisions. Like
Yeah.
you have an abundance of opportunities to do X, Y, Z. But I think it was who's the owner of the Mavericks, Dallas? Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban.
He's
Yep.
like, you just got to be right once, man. You just got to be right once.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's definitely. I mean, it's definitely hard. I mean, that's the idea too. Is I think a lot of people get so much anxiety over not knowing something or like not knowing what they want to do. It's like, trust me, the first step is realizing you're not alone in those thoughts, right? I think no matter what you're going through in life, your brain is always kind of gonna sometimes, hopefully, less times than more, that your brain's gonna go to like, man, how can my life look differently in this moment? I think the most you try to kind of suppress that or minimize those times that's happened, is the better, so you can truly focus on what you got going on your plate.
Oh, absolutely. And like that's where like, I'm kind of at right now too. Is like I feel like I'm in that abundance stage where like I want to do all these things, and like I don't want to like get any older. Like I want to stay like my same age and just do all these things and gather all these experiences. But hey, man, life doesn't slow down, so you just gotta keep trying to figure it out.
It's a lot of people like look past on these times, and they're if they're older and they're like, man, you have your whole life ahead of you. It's like also sometimes it doesn't feel good to have your whole life ahead of you, right? It can be scary sometimes, you know,
Yeah, it
because you
is.
realize. So it's like, how do we find, maybe Zach, you can like kind of, this is definitely your kind of your realm, or where you're going to be going career wise, as far as helping people with this kind of mindset or this kind of frame of mind. It's like, how do you not let life get too overwhelming sometimes? Because it can be very, this point at this time of our life can be very overwhelming. Because yeah, we have so many like kind of choices or like opportunities or all these things, right? It can get goddamn stressful sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I mean the answer is very simple, but it's easier said than done. It's literally, find something that makes you feel good and do it. If something makes you feel good, because that's the whole point of life. When you're gonna do a bunch of things, if you don't feel good first, that's like the first thing you should get out of the way. Because if you're like going to a job that you hate, that's affecting you emotionally and physically, and that's just gonna rub off on other people that you come in contact with. So if you just think about it, um, doing something that you enjoy doing, that you feel good, you feel like you can give back, and you're feeling, inspired, and you're not just feeling like, oh, I'm gonna get through the day. Like, I just need to get through the day, and then you're doing the same thing the next day too. So if you're finding something that gives you joy, um, and it's like a passion, then that's where you need to start. Um, but definitely with the overwhelming aspect of it, it's like finding something you're good at, but prioritizing like what's important to you. Because a lot of things, I'm not going to say they're not important, but people maybe prioritize things ahead of other things that might need to be like first, or like taken care of first. So when it comes to like your own like health, that should be pretty far like important in your life. And not like catering to other people or trying to please other people, because you have to take care of yourself at the same time. Um, so it's about priorities a lot and balance, but it's always hard to find that balance. But once you find a few things that you really like to do, then you can structure your life around those things, and then you can add in other things along with those things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's yeah. So let's get into occupations. Obviously, none of us have, or I shouldn't say obviously. I don't think we're at our point of our lives where we are doing something we want to do for the rest of our lives. I guess I can only really be the person to kind of speak on that. Obviously, you guys are still going to school. But anyway, okay. So yeah, what occupation, get right into it. What occupation would you do if money didn't matter? Now, I thought about this on my ride back from the grocery store yesterday. And so I'm in a occupation where I work with people who are in their late teens, and I work with people who are literally in their late 30s, early 40s. I see them every day. And so when I thought about this, and I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. But this isn't a fair question to ask everyone, or this isn't a fair question to ask everyone. I.e., I work with people in their 30s who have a wife and kids. If I sit there was like, what occupation would you do if money didn't matter? They would laugh at me and be like, listen, to me, money does matter. And because it's a cute little, like, that's cute to have a little passion project and things like that. But at the end of the day, I have, a 3-year-old at home that's depending on me to buy him food so he can live. At the end of the day, I have a wife that's depending on me to make sure that our gas bill gets paid, so we have hot water in the morning for showers. So like, and I know for the sake of conversation, we can say that money doesn't matter in this.
Well, yeah, I would just say there's two sides of the coin. Like, some people would literally like take it literal. Like, I have people depending on me. I have things I need to do. But for the sake of conversation and just, seeing what someone might be passionate about, or like where they would spend their time, if hypothetically like monetary, like all those things like just didn't exist, like what would you spend your time doing?
So I just want to preface that I think this is a very, very important question to ask someone or people that are exactly where we are in our shoes. Absolutely. And then they can, if they truly know that answer, then they should absolutely try to find a way to make that occupation something where you can provide yourself the necessary needs as a human being need, or the needs of a human being, right? Obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, I absolutely think that. But what I'm trying to say is if we had someone with a wife and kids on this podcast right now, I don't think this conversation will maybe beneficial to them, or because at the end of the day, like some people's situations, they just gotta put their head down and go to work. Now I think then we can end it, then we can start the conversation. But I think there would be an aspect to where they would say, that 35-year-old person with a wife and kids would say, listen, I wish I would have asked myself this when I didn't have a wife and a kid, so I wasn't in the situation. So I just want to kind of give those perspectives out to, obviously and we understand that, right? But this is a very, very important question to talk about with people who, quote, do have their whole lives ahead of them, as people like to say. So, yeah. So Zach, this is did you put this on the notes, the share notes question?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. All right. You can go. It was, yeah. I was just wondering, but yeah, you can go.
Honestly, I don't know the specific name for it, but it would kind of just be someone who volunteers for like when natural disasters happen, and like not like the Red Cross or like Peace Corps or something like that. I feel like it'd be, I mean, the traveling aspect, it's not what it's about, but I do like to just help people, and I just feel like that would be very rewarding and something I would just like enjoy doing. Like it bring joy, and I would feel good doing it. So that's kind of what I'm after in life. Obviously, like you don't really do those things to gain money, so that's why I kind of thought of it as like an occupation or job I would do if there was no money.
Yeah, I like I'm not familiar with like how those, obviously there's like, maybe not obviously, I don't know how like the funding and stuff, but no, I mean you definitely sign up for that. I feel like there's like no restrictions on people trying to help parts of the world with natural disasters. You know what I mean? That's crazy. That was, to be honest, I didn't know where you're gonna go with that, but definitely not that route. Have you ever like been in, right? You've never been in like a country, or
no, I've never been out of the US. I really want to be though.
Oh, okay. I mean, I didn't mean out of the US, but just like in a country that needs, or
Oh, no, I haven't, but I'm sure you can volunteer like nowadays. I just never really looked into it, and even when I put that in the notes, I didn't really have an idea, but that's kind of what came to me first, so that's what I said. But I don't know what I would even come to if I really thought about it, but that's what came to mind first, so that's why I said it. So
no, that's fire, dude. We should do a little summer trip. We just go to. I mean, it's like we laugh and stuff, but it's like never mind. I mean, I'm not trying to put like a joke or like it's a cool thing, because it's not. I mean, those people obviously need help. So yeah, it just, I mean, one experience. I could imagine it being good and bad. So yeah.
Well, yeah. How about you,
all right, Luke?
Dude, honestly, like I'm kind of living my dream right now, because the whole reason I'm going for engineering is like I just like the behind the scenes stuff of like how things work, like how things are built. But honestly, like in that aspect, my favorite thing is probably like a DJ or something like that. Something that works with like music. Like, dude, I just love like, when it's like 1 a.m. in the club, you get a little dance on, the way like the beat is just like doop doop doop. Oh man, I just love the way the music feels. So I would definitely probably be like a producer or like a DJ or something like that. Just the way it makes me feel, man. Just elevates me.
Yeah, that lifestyle sounds just like, it just sounds exhausting. And I know I sound like an old man, but like
no,
dude,
not
I
like
see like highlights of like Shaq and stuff, and I'm like, dude, I mean, obviously this is just conversation, right? I'm not saying that we could do whatever you want. I'm sure those I know those people make some serious dough as well, so it's not something to kind of joke about. But yeah, no, that's kudos to them. They just, I mean, like the lifestyle, it's like that energy they had to put out weekend, like every weekend, is, man, kudos to them. But a fire DJ, let's be fair, a fire DJ makes or breaks a night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
I should say a bad DJ can easily destroy a night. So shout out to all the good ones.
Oh yeah, like even like at that, like I'm not even saying just like that lifestyle, just even like where you're making the process of the music, turning like just these simple tunes and like just like a what's the word for it? Like it has a rhythm. And
Yeah.
just being able to go from like that and then just adding more and more and more and more instruments and stuff like that. And then it just turns into a song. It's really cool how you can go from nothing to something.
You like
Yeah.
putting things together.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like the whole aspect of why I said like in the beginning, that's why I'm kind of going for engineering, just like learning that aspect. So I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Fire.
Tom, you go. Well, you Tom.
Yeah, I think I mean I've always like had my health a priority. And just recently have I realized, I shouldn't say just recently, but over time I've realized how much that has like just put me at advantage over my peers. And what I mean by that is I've developed kind of luckily I've developed like a solid amount of habits towards my health that as a 23-year-old is fairly rare, being around a bunch of 23-year-olds or just being around people in their 20s and late 20s. So what I'm trying to get at is like an occupation for me would be able to how to develop or how to help people develop those habits, those truly healthy habits that can truly change your life day to day. And then obviously over time, how do I like basically spread that awareness in a sense, just how crucial that is. And because people have done it for me and I'm super grateful for that. And yeah, I think it's only like fair and it's very fulfilling because I know how much it's changed my life and it's changed people's lives close to me. Just how impactful that can be to other people. I would like to do that. There's definitely obviously tons of avenues you can do that, right? Through mental health, through nutrition, through exercise. So when I think about me, what I would like to do, it would be through that exercise avenue. Obviously, exercise is just an aspect of your health, but it's for me, it's the most fun, and I've always had a passion for it. So, yeah, kind of spreading I should say the word of just helping other people develop good exercise habits, whether that's like through exactly personal training, which my brother does full time, or it's through more of like a team setting, like a strength and conditioning coach. That really attracts me because obviously you still have that competitive aspect to it through like the teams and things like that. So that's definitely very attractive to me right now. But I don't know, just something through I believe that the exercise trait of your health, your overall health. It's goddamn, it's changed my life in the good and the bad. When I don't have it, it's I've realized how shitty I can feel, and when it's on point, I realize how great I can feel. So, yeah,
Dude, I think you gotta get that patent, man. I don't think that's around, and you could probably do something with that, for real.
What?
Just being like a trainer and like an exerciser of the mind, you know, like how to like an exerciser of habits, you know.
How
like you could do like kind of like I don't know, yeah.
Well,
I don't know how like you like train, but definitely I would definitely think about that for real, like opening like just like a building or something. I don't know.
Well, I think
I don't know.
Yeah, when it comes to well, we can definitely get into like our own habits, good and bad. But when it comes to definitely your health, habits are the most important thing. Habits are your health. It's like your health is your habits because what you do day to day that impacts your health. That is your health, right? That's who you are as a person. I.e., if your habit is to not sleep, if your habit is to, go to bed late and wake up early, that is your impacting your health. If your habit is to not eat the most nutrient dense foods, that is your impacting your health. If your habit is to not,
you are what you eat, man. You are
all of those. I mean, you are what you do. I mean, the key is, I believe, like the key to any type of growth through the health field, or I mean, I guess through your own health, is developing good habits. Yeah, the problem with that is that people don't like it. That takes, obviously, developing a habit takes time, time. So anyway, yeah. So I was a long-winded answer, but yeah,
I agree though with exercise and like you said it like towards the end, if you don't like exercise, you realize you can feel like shit. It's because like physical exercise, like actually there's benefits for your mental and like your whole overall well-being with physical exercise. So it translates to every part of your other body. So any type of exercise is really good. I also put that in the notes. I figured this would be a good conversation to have because all of us like to work out and we've been working out for years and years. And I thought of something with like exercising, but I don't necessarily like the personal training aspect because I don't really want to take someone through a workout. That doesn't really appeal to me. But then you brought up like there's like the mental aspect, and I always have been interested in that, like a sports psychologist, but you have to go to like not med school, but you have to do like a bunch of other schooling for that. So I didn't really want to go into that. But the mental aspect of like developing those habits and stuff like that would be something really interesting with along the exercise route, like you were talking about.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know like really what that looks like. But at the end of the day, I think, listen, the earlier you put your health a priority, the better your life will be. And like, I know it's a very blanket statement, but if you think about the people, I heard this quote the other day. I was listening to a podcast. Like, if you think about the truly like successful people, and like for the most part, they're in pretty damn good shape. You know what I mean? Like obviously like Joe Rogan talks about all the damn time, but like, it's obviously in incredible shape and takes that a priority. And just like, yeah, I don't know. I know that's literally one example. I can't really think of it right now, but I just think it's to be a truly productive person, and to feel good about what you're doing. Like you need to just put your health a priority. And I think the hardest, pill for people to swallow when it comes to that is they have no idea where to start. And that's a very, very valid reason to be overwhelmed by it. It's very like, where the hell do you start? And so I think I tell people, it's like, well, the fact that you're even thinking about it, you're already that's the first step, right? You're already making that step because you're aware that you want to change. And like we talked about, mental and physical they're all connected. So the idea that your mindset is already, how can I make myself feel better? You're already like +1, right? Like, and then, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we don't have to get into like literally exercise plans, but yeah, just habits, man. It's crucial. So yeah.
Well, yeah, when we're on the topic of health, we can just get into like the mental health, and we're all three males. So yeah, I'll just pose a question about like there is definitely a stigma around men asking for help, like mental health help. So like if they're struggling with something, they definitely uh push that down, like, repress it, and they don't really want to ask for help. So especially in today's day and age, like what do you guys think about like men's mental health and asking for help, if anything, if benefits could come out of it, or you like don't agree with it, or just any thoughts about that?
Luke, you can hit that one.
I mean, I agree that there is like a stigma where I feel like the tough man, where I don't want to like explain myself to someone else, like, and get that help, where I think I could just do it myself. I'll just get past it, where at the end of the day, it still like digs into you, and I still like suffer that till this day. Like, I mean, I feel like everybody does. Like, they have something where they gotta get off their chest, but like, okay, it's always gonna be there. But yeah, I think people should start getting help when they need it, or just talk to like a friend, or just whoever. Reach out to someone that you trust, that they'll listen, just to get that off your, just speak up.
The hardest thing, it's the biggest thing I struggle with day to day. I just always like pride myself on being the person that is going to be there for other people. And I pride myself in a way, it's like, I can take care of myself. I know how to take care of myself. So therefore, when people need me, my true loved ones need me, I'm the guy that can always turn to, right? And then I got to a point, fairly recently, where I needed other people, I just needed to talk to someone. Thankful, and it's the best. I never had to really have that happen for the most part, to that far extent. And I mean, obviously, I just had a plethora of options. I should say plethora of options. My options that I had were exactly what I needed. I know, like Zach and I had a very, very long conversation about things that were going on. But anyway, to answer the question, it's like I just kept telling myself it's okay to not be okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I didn't realize, and it sounds so simple, but I truly didn't realize that until fairly recently. If I was not okay, quote unquote, whatever that looked like at that time, in my mind, I always could trace it back to something, and then I'd be like, all right, I feel like shit because of I drank way too much. I drank way too much last night. Boom. That's my answer. Now I'm okay. Now I know, hey, don't do that. That's why I feel like shit. But there's going to be there's going to be times in your life where they're really, you don't really know the answer, or the answer to why you feel this way is so complicated that you just need to let it out. And I think just letting that out is literally the action of talking, or I did a ton of journaling during that time, just the idea of letting it out. And this isn't like, and I don't have the answers to like, yep, you need to talk to the X, Y, and Z. It's just, you just need to talk and just get it out of your system. And whether that writing is literally whatever it may look like, or whatever that talking is, whatever that looks like, that's the action that is needed for you to truly like just get that pain or that agony just out of your system. And it doesn't happen like that. You know what I mean? It's time and time again. And you might feel good because you got it out one day. Excuse me. You might feel good because you got it out one day. The next day rolls around and it comes right back. But at least you can tell yourself that it's okay to feel this way. And then you also realize that there are actions for you to do to help that. And when it comes to men,
what do you
like?
Oh, my bad. Sorry, go ahead.
No. That was just
what do you think, like,
to the question.
Like, what do you think, like, how do you bring yourself back to the center? Like, say you're feeling this way, you're like, okay, shit, I don't know where to go. Like, I'm in a fog. Where do you find like peace? Like, how do you get back to center? If you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah, well, I think going back to what we're talking about, health is an aspect of health, but like, how did you sleep the night before? Did you get your workout in? How have you been eating? Have you been drinking water? Those are like, I know they sound super simple and foundational, but that's huge when it comes to personally how I feel, right? And if those are kind of all intact, I kind of just do some reflecting. I do a lot of I like to listen to people talk about problems that arise in life, like literally podcasts about life. Jordan Peterson's a huge one. He talks a lot about just everyday problems that a man, for the most part, he talks a lot about like men and young men and what they deal with, and just hearing his perspective. I don't necessarily think he's the gospel or anything, but it's just hearing his perspective on certain predicaments that young men our age go through. It kind of helps me just think about it more, just kind of spark ideas. So definitely, making sure my health is all intact. If I feel like shit one day and I ate like shit, for me, I know exactly how that feels, and I can kind of relate that back. Or, if there was a long night of drinking, whatever. But then if I feel like that's kind of like all checked off in a sense, I kind of just, I turn to, for the most part, I do turn to content that is, I would just say inspirational. It's not necessarily a super upbeating thing. It's just like real life content about real life things, and Jordan Peterson talks about some real life. And then there's plenty out there. I just found myself recently kind of turning to him in times where I just don't necessarily feel the best. And listen, I kind of joke about it, but this has helped me a ton. Sometimes, like, there was a morning this past week, I just like had zero motivation. I shouldn't say motivation. I just had zero energy, just like spiritual energy to get to work and like have a good day. Turn on a fucking Joe Rogan motivational video. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like that's, and guess what? It helped me a ton. I know people joke about that. There's like, but sometimes you just need some people letting you know that like, hey man, life isn't always easy. You got to put your head down and keep going. And I think every person kind of reacts to that in a sense. But yeah, a long way answer. Those are kind of ways that I can gauge how I'm feeling, and then what are some habits that I do that kind of get myself back to what I shouldn't say normal, but just back to what I feel is censored.
Oh, absolutely. Just decrease like the way you're feeling, just to kind of get your mind off of it. It's a huge makes a huge difference. Even for like those
Yeah.
10 seconds, those 10 seconds can save you just to see a little bit of light.
Yeah.
Yeah, even when you listen to other people talk about things, it does something psychologically when you're hearing it out loud. So I don't know what it is specifically, but when you listen to podcasts or just like hearing someone speak, it does something inside, and that's why you probably feel better. Um, I don't know like the research on that, but there is research on just like talking, if you just talk about things, or even just journaling. Like those are very simple things, but there's like studies about that stuff that it actually decreases like stress, it decreases anxiety, it could decrease like depression in a sense. So talking is just really important. If you think about it, if you have something that's weighing down on your mental and you're going through the whole day, you probably feel it a little bit wherever you feel like that anxiety. Like I feel mine like usually in my stomach. If I feel something in my stomach, and I need to talk about something, I find myself when I do talk about it, I get like that relief that comes like about like once you share things that you're being weighed down by, like you just feel better. So, and it's just from a simple thing of just talking. So sometimes you do need to, you can't, I can't do this by myself. Like I need to talk to someone else. So I can need to, call this friend up or just reach out to other people. Cause I know people probably think, um, especially men, like I always think about like when with the stigma, it's like, well, if I'm not feeling like okay, or like I'm feeling down or in the dumps, like that's not like manly. But like that's just like it's just so wrong to say that. It's life. Like everyone is dealing with things like that. So it's just something you have to definitely navigate through, but just not be afraid to ask for help. And just like talking is very simple. It's a part of the human condition, but it helps so drastically and you won't even realize it. But yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
like
it's
this is. Oh, sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
no, you're good. You're good.
No, like I was just gonna say, this is like a fairly new thing where men's health, like as in like the last few years, like it's been coming more and more. Do you guys have like a timeline where you see the world really accepting this and like our children grow up and they don't have to worry about, oh, this isn't manly or something like that, where they can just speak up and say something if something's wrong with them, you know what I mean? Like do you see
Well, I
that
don't.
within like the next 100 years?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean, obviously,
it's.
like
I don't. Yeah, and obviously that's not like an idea where it's like an aha moment. Like, hey, so now we're all good. It's like
no, no, no. Like
at
there's
the end
always
of the day.
something's gonna be wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously we've made tremendous strides. I believe in the past
Right. Yeah.
3 years with it. Since like COVID and stuff. Um, so yeah, I think it's always going to be tough because the idea of a man, it sounds kind of shitty, but like the idea of a man is to be like the provider for the house, and I know that's kind of getting even further away from the norm now. But that will kind of always be right. Like at the end of the day, like it makes sense, or people visualize like the man making the most amount of money, or just being there to support the family financially, wherever that may be, right? Like everyone, I think, is always going to have that stigma because that's how it's been for so long. So when that person or that character in our minds is like compromised, or telling people that he's compromised, it's always, I think it's always going to be just harder than if it would be for the wife or the daughter or the kids. Do you know what I mean? Like
Oh,
it makes sense that there's a stigma around it, right? Like that's what I'm trying to get at. It makes sense.
To Luke's question, I don't think it's ever going to be accepted. We're definitely making strides. Like you can definitely tell in the past 5 years, like it's more normalized to ask for help, and everyone is seeing that, especially like you see like men more so compared to like other years. But I don't think there's ever going to be a time where that like stigma is fully gone. It's always going to be like it's just been there for through the whole time like the human race has been around. Like the man is supposed to be like the provider for the family, like they're the masculine figure, they're like the alpha in a sense. I just feel like that stigma of like men feeling like they can't ask for help. I feel like the stigma is always going to be there in a sense, but that doesn't mean it can't like get better. Like 'cause it's been getting better. I feel like it's going to continue to get better, but I just don't think the stigma will fully ever be gone. Um, but that's not necessarily like a bad thing either, because it's just something like another thing that we can be consciously aware of and try to change. But um, it's just hard to get rid of something that's been around for centuries and centuries and centuries.
And it's just one of those things that just makes us human. That's just humanity at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
Yeah. So yeah, along the lines of mental health, we pretty much discussed it. We think the stigma is always going to be there around men's mental health. And we're making great strides in the world today that is making it more normalized for everyone to ask for help. Therapy is becoming more normalized. I can see it. I'm in a counseling program, and it's definitely there's counseling services on it seems like every block, anywhere you go. And then with the addition of like COVID, it did bring out a lot of challenges, but also benefits. There's a lot of telehealth, so you can do therapy online nowadays. So it's a big world. Like mental health is becoming more and more significant in the lives of everyone. It's becoming more and more aware. So um, that's what we had to say about that. And on the lines of that, Luke, do you have anything else to say about that before we probably wrap up this episode number 2?
I mean, I think we pretty much touched all the bases of it, so I think we're good to sign off now.
Yeah.
We're good to go.
So this was episode 2. We're like we said, we're not really sure on a name. We're thinking of thinking out loud. Um, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be us three, but we might have like guests coming in. But it's gonna be us three doing like the podcast every week when we record. We'll probably have some of our own friends and people come on, and we'll just chop it up with them. Because that's what our goal is, to just kind of get our thoughts out there and just maybe inspire other people or shift some perspectives in other people, and we can learn from each other as well. So that's like the whole point of doing this thing and just catching up with each other. So yeah, this was a good episode, and I guess we will see you when we do this next time.